This is a brief introduction to the Experimentus Intelligent Test Method, iTM. Over the next few minutes we are going to have a look at how to navigate through iTM, and as part of that we will have a high-level introduction to iTM's main features. On starting iTM, the welcome screen is displayed. On the left-hand side is a vertical menu. A home option appears on every screen and is a quick and simple way to return to this screen from any part of the iTM landscape. How to use explains the principles of how to navigate around the iTM hierarchy. Sitemap provides a convenient list of content with appropriate links. iTM Overview enables a high-level graphical view of each of the test methodologies found in iTM. The next three options provide direct links to each of these three testing methodologies: the waterfall or V model, agile, and the iterative rational unified process or RUP. iTM also contains a number of training or reference sections based firmly on the ISTQB syllabus for the foundation, the intermediate, and advanced certificates in software testing. There's a glossary of software testing terms and the latest version of the Software Testing Maturity Model, TMMI. The last three options provide links to the iTM version information, contact details and terms and conditions of use for your organization, and a link to the Experimentus website. To begin, let's select the iTM overview. Here we have diagrams illustrating at a high level the three testing methodologies contained within iTM: the waterfall or V model methodology, the agile methodology, and the RUP methodology. Clicking on any of these diagrams will take you to the process overview for the selected methodology. For now, let's select waterfall. The first thing to notice is that there is now a horizontal navigation bar towards the top of the screen in addition to the vertical. The options in the horizontal bar change according to the context, so will be different for the alternative methodologies and for the three training sections. At the top and bottom of most pages are Previous and Next buttons, enabling movement through iTM in a logical sequence. If the cursor is hovered over an option, a drop-down list appears from which additional topics can be selected. From the main diagram you can see that the waterfall process is comprised of four main phases: test planning, test specification, test execution, and test closure. These phases are reflected in the top navigation bar. For each of the phases there is a process diagram, associated guidance, and in some sections links to associated tools or additional guidance. For example, in test planning there is an associated test estimation tool. For test specification there is additional guidance on test design techniques. In test control there is guidance on the metrics data capture tool, which we will look at briefly later. Let's have a look in more detail at the test planning phase. I can either get there by selecting the test planning process diagram link from the top menu, or by selecting test planning on the overview diagram. I'll use the test planning process to illustrate some of the common features of the diagrams in iTM. The process diagrams consist of a series of numbered steps, blue or grey in colour. For the test planning process, the numbers are prefixed by the letters TP. For example, establish a test strategy is TP30 and establish test estimates is TP40. On the left-hand side of the diagram are the inputs to the process, and on the right-hand side, in green, are the outputs. All process diagrams contain live links. For example, if TP10 is clicked, focus changes to the guidance for that process step. Clicking the back button returns focus to the previous location. Depending on the type of link, clicking on an element of a process diagram can bring up guidance, as we've just seen, or can open an associated document or tool. For example, selecting the Procedures, Guidance, Templates element would open the appropriate document, in this case a test strategy template, in the document's native application. To the right-hand side of some process steps, inputs and outputs, are icons variously marked M, V, and T. The V icon represents validation points. These are points in the process where a formal checkpoint is expected. For example, at the decision point TP10, entry criteria met, some form of sign-off would be expected after checking that all the entry criteria have indeed been met before continuing with the test planning process. T icons represent test tool touchpoints. These are points in the process where a particular tool is used. There are a number of tools defined in iTM, each of which is given an ID number. For example, the tool associated with TP20 is T30. If that is selected, focus changes to an explanation of that tool touchpoint, from where the tool itself, in this case the Product Test Risk Catalog, can be opened. The M icons represent metric touchpoints. Associated with each metric touchpoint is a rectangular box which lists the identities of the metrics suggested to be collected at that point in the process. For example, the metrics collected at TP10 are M1 and M1A. Selecting the metrics icon or its box brings up the list of metrics collected in this process. Looking at the information for metrics M1 and M1A shows that the data items associated with them relate to the test deliverables checklist and are collected at the start and end of the test phase. You can drill down from here into the detail for one of these metrics. Selecting M1, for example, brings up a fuller explanation of the metric, including its type, objective, how it's calculated, and the thresholds that have been set. This theme of a process diagram and guidance is repeated for the other processes in iTM, such as test specification, test execution, and test closure. In the test control section are found the processes related to test monitoring and control, such as the product risk process, test and defect management goals, including KPI definitions, and the overarching test monitoring and control process itself. There is also detailed guidance on how the test monitoring and reporting tool can be used. The metrics tool itself is a spreadsheet into which data is entered related to test effort across selected test levels. Finally, for this part of the menu, the Services section contains diagrams and guidance for the processes that are not used solely by testing, but which are necessary in any good test process, such as incident, configuration, change, and requirements management. All of these are based on the ITIL standard. There are also definitions of test process improvement and defect prevention processes. That concludes the look through the top navigation bar, so let's now look at the training and reference material. There are 3 training modules: Foundation, Intermediate, and Advanced levels. While not being formally accredited training courses, all the material has been written by an accredited ISTQB trainer and is based on the current ISTQB syllabus. Each of the modules has its own horizontal menu bar and sitemap, which makes it easy to navigate to a specific topic. For example, if I want to see what the Intermediate training module has to say about reviews, I can select the general topic from the sitemap and then choose a more detailed selection from the list. Intermediate and Advanced training have self-assessment modules for each major topic. The tests are scored on a combination of how close the answer is to the correct one and on the difficulty of the question. As well as providing a robust test framework, iTM provides a number of tools. Arguably the most important is the Metrics and Key Performance Indicator Reporting tool, which enables capture of test metric data and its presentation in easy-to-understand dashboard style. The Metrics tool is a spreadsheet into which details are entered related to test effort across selected test levels. In this example, we've chosen to report weekly on system test, system integration test, and acceptance test. The tool enables figures to be entered for test milestone dates, planned and actual test effort, and defect data. The data entered feeds a number of graphical reports. progress on test preparation for each of the selected test levels, test execution progress, overall actual test effort against that planned, defect status with a breakdown by severity, including defects found in reviews, defect leakage and defect origin reports, defect detection and fixing reports, and defect aging. Ultimately, the data feeds into a dashboard which indicates the health of the individual KPIs using a red, amber, green status based on the organisationally defined thresholds, and these KPIs are used to help manage and control testing. The tool provides an evolving picture of progress, actual versus planned, progress towards targets, which can be KPIs, timelines, or effort related, through the entire test life cycle, and it facilitates test progress reporting. It provides high-level and detailed information of progress to allow identification of deviations that require control activities and provides detailed analysis of different data groups. It's simple to use and it maintains the progressive datasets of raw metrics data. It's also able to satisfy reporting requirements above the project level. The metrics tool is also able to accept input from any defect management tool that can output in CSV or Excel format. That concludes this introduction to iTM. If you want to know more, please contact Experimentus. The details are on the screen.